and we are talking about Bose's visit to Andaman, right? And this is his association now to the whole affair, right? Now,
Mhm.
like I mentioned earlier, some records say that Bose was aware of Japanese atrocities but did nothing, while others say he was not allowed to see what was actually happening, right? And I am going to quote from both of these, viewpoints. There was an article by Scroll, and this article does talk about what was happening over there. The article mainly takes a position that Bose knew, right,
Mhm.
and didn't do anything. Didn't do anything mostly because he needed the support of Japanese troops. If you have listened to the episode of why how Bose hailed Hitler, don't know why Bose hailed Hitler. This seems to be a disturbing pattern now, that ignoring atrocities because I need some benefit. So it's only so much you can ignore. But then there are also that I will also quote from an article that gives a detailed account of how Bose was not allowed to see what was going on,
Mhm.
right? So first, the article by Scroll. It says, as it turns out, the Andaman Islands were the only part of India that was actually controlled by the Indian National Army, the liberation force headed by Subhash Chandra Bose. But its administration over the islands was only nominal. In reality, power was exercised by the Japanese forces so brutally that they caused the residents of the islands to develop a deep hatred for both the Japanese and Bose's army. As Jayant Dasgupta recounts in his book Japanese in Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Red Sun Over Black Water, several residents were executed on charges of spying, local women were forced into sexual slavery, and hundreds were rounded up to provide labor for an airstrip and other projects. A side note, this book that they are talking about, Red Sun Over Black Water, this has been used as a source in pretty much everything I read about this. Right? So it seems to be a very important source. I'm continuing the article. Bose visited Port Blair to raise the tricolor and technically take charge of the islands in December 1943, renaming
Mhm.
the Andaman's Shahid Dweep, Martyr Island, and Nicobar's Swaraj Dweep, Self-Rule Island. Locals are said to have told him about the atrocities that had been meted out on them, only to be ignored, earning him their wrath. Scroll seems to be very neutral on this, but very clearly saying that Bose knew, right? Now, there's an article by the News Minute that seems to take a kinder view on Bose's involvement. I will say both Scroll and the News Minute are considered to be more or less factually, well established. Like they do not, they are not the Sun, right?
Mhm.
Or they are not India Today, or they are not ZTV, or they are not Times of India. They are not, I don't know what to say, man. The entire fucking Indian media landscape now. Anyway, so
Okay.
mostly reliable sources, but quite different from each other. I want to pause and emphasize this because this is true for most historical records. You will see differing, records, especially where documented records are missing,
Mhm.
right? And even where there are documented records, you cannot record something completely objectively. You are a human being, so you are going to record subjectively, right? So even reliable sources have differing accounts, right? So anyway, the News Minute, what it says, this is a little long because they're
Mhm.
describing Bose's visit, right? It's very detailed. I highly recommend reading the article. As usual, we are going to link it in the description. I'm quoting from the article. Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose visited Port Blair during the last 3 days of December 1943. He landed at the Lamba Line Airport on December 29, 1943, and left in the early hours of January 1st, 1944. At the airport, a select band of officials were made to stand in 2 rows, ostensibly to welcome Netaji. They were all picked overnight, as the news of Bose's arrival was kept from the public on account of war exigencies. This is still World War II, right? He met them without speaking to any of them, as if he were inspecting a guard of honor. During his visit, Bose was put up at the Chief Commissioner's abandoned residence on the hilltop at Ross Island. Ross Island, again, separated from all realities of what is happening in Andaman at that point of time. Right? The article continues, after the evacuation by the British, all government offices were shifted to Aberdeen, I think is how it's pronounced, as the Japanese feared bombardment by the Allied forces. The objective of the Japanese was apparently to isolate Bose from the local population. When he arrived at Ross Island, the Japanese had ordered men, women, and children to line up at the jetty. He thought that the crowd had come to pay him homage, and the fear that the Japanese had instilled in them made them dare to dispel the impression. Right? So basically, the article continues talking about how Bose was essentially chaperoned throughout his trip. Like he was taken to the cellular jail, the now shut down, now transformed into where they kept British officers and spies. But he was not taken to the place where Indian prisoners who were suspected to be British spies were kept. Right?
Might I just interject here that
yeah,
whatever, like we can give however much benefit of doubt we want to give, but I find it extremely hard to believe that someone like Bose was unaware of what was going on.
Yes. That's exactly my point.
Yeah.
That is, I refuse to believe that a person who is so like he had seen by this time 3 imperialist forces fucking up close and personal, right? He had seen British, he had seen Germany, and he had seen Japan. And he was being, everywhere he went, Japanese officials were surrounding him. There were social gatherings in those 3 days where he was not left alone with the local people for even a single day. When local people tried to interact with him, the Japanese officials would intervene. You think he didn't know? I refuse to believe.
Also, like didn't he go from Germany to Japan when Japan was an imperial force in the world?
Yeah,
And he knew
this was during this time.
exactly, and
It's
he
the
was
same
well
year.
aware. He was well aware of how Japan functioned at that point of time. So
Correct.
it would have been very, like, I don't know, like downright stupid of him to assume that they will be very nice to the people in Andaman and Nicobar.
Exactly.
Right.
And by this time, he has already been in Japan for what, half a year? More than half a year. Right. So I am sure he has seen the comfort women thing happening in Japan.
Yeah. 100%.
Come the fuck on.
Yeah. I will not
So-
absolve him of this. Like the Germany thing during that
Absolutely
episode,
fucking
if you recall, I was still a bit on the fence because like enemy of my enemy or all of that, right? So I can still buy a little bit of that, but this
Yeah.
I find extremely hard to believe.
Yeah. It also seems to me that it really wouldn't have done anything for the overall freedom struggle by capturing Andaman and Nicobar Islands. It was strategically a very important position for defense from outside forces. Right? But it had very little of a role to play in mainland India. So I don't buy this. I'm with you on that. I have no benefit of doubt that I want to give here. Right? And at the end of I want to talk about a couple of different incidents, but at the end of my notes, I had written this, and that I don't think it's speculation. I'm not a fucking journalist. I'm not a historian. It is speculation that that whatever I'm saying and whatever Sandy you are saying, but it does seem to be the more logical conclusion, right? And I am not in support of leaving all critical thinking aside in favor of benefit of doubt, unless it's a court of law, right? Then you have to have actual
I would
proof.
have given the benefit of doubt to someone who was an nincompoop, right? He was just another commoner who was taken from the road and flown there and then
Yeah.
showed around. I would have bought that completely. But Bose was not that. Bose was an
Yeah.
extremely
Yeah.
influential political figure. And he rubbed
Yeah.
shoulders with Hitler, with the Japanese imperial forces. He rubbed shoulders with the who's who of everywhere. So
Yep.
he of all people should be aware of what's going on and who these people he is dealing with are, right? So
Yeah.
none of
Yeah.
this should have come as a surprise to him. So I
Yeah,
choose to believe that he chose to sort of ignore or look the other
ignore
way,
it.
whatever was going
Yeah.
on,
Hmm.
right? Just so
This
that
is
they could help him in his overall, whatever his target or goal was, ambition was,
see,
right?
that's what fucks me up, because cooperating with Hitler meant that he was hoping for Germany to fight Britain, and Britain to lose so that India would be freed. Getting the control of Andaman and Nicobar Islands seems like a personal power move to me. Like,
Hmm.
it seems like a personal ambition to me. Like, it really fucked me up. Like, after the episode on Hitler, like when I was going through all of that, I did mention this at the end of the episode, that my sympathies still lie with Bose. After I read all of this, it doesn't anymore. Like, I think he was
Hmm.
a fucked up human being, right? So yeah, there's this. I want to talk about this specific incident that the article talks about. Let me quote from there. The same night, Netaji gave a return dinner party to the admiral and a number of Japanese officers. In this party too, the same Indians attended who were earlier invited. Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna is the deputy commissioner at this point of time, deputy commissioner of Port Blair, but also the chairman of the Andaman branch of Indian Independence League, IIL, under Bose, right? And Ramakrishna, so a lot of what the article says is taken from the report of Ramakrishna, who had detailed all of this, right? So Ramakrishna, who attended the dinner, suggested that Netaji visit the Indian Independence League headquarters and meet the working committee before he took off for Singapore. Indian Independence League, for the uninitiated, was a political organization that was working from between around 1920s to 1940s to organize those living outside British India to, seek the outsing of Britain, colonial rule from the region, right? And this was, I don't know if you have heard, we'll someday talk about him, of Rash Bihari Bose, who was the president of IIL. He was the one who discovered Subhash Chandra Bose, right? So a lot of history there. But anyway, IIL at this point of time still functioning and very much active, right? So he suggested Netaji visit the IIL headquarters and meet the working committee before he took off for Singapore. Netaji readily accepted the invitation. This turn of events visibly perturbed the Japanese. They were perplexed momentarily, but their ingenuity gave birth to a novel idea to stall any kind of revelation of facts. On the same night, the Japanese went house to house, woke up sleeping women and children, and drove them to the hall at 2 a.m. Netaji's arrival was timed at 8 a.m. on December 31st. Those gathered had no clue about the meeting. When Ramakrishna arrived there to arrange for Netaji's reception and ordered those people out, he was politely told by an inspector of police that the Japanese had gathered the crowd. When the members of the working committee arrived a little later, they found the hall filled to capacity and could not enter. There was utter confusion with sleep deprived women and children shouting and crying. Netaji arrived at the appointed time with a retinue of Japanese naval and army officers. Members of the league were lost in the crowd. With difficulty, a way was found for him and others to enter the hall. He saw the crowd, but couldn't see anyone in particular. The way the meeting was organized, Netaji couldn't speak to anyone individually. The chairman of the league gave the welcome address, and then Netaji addressed the crowd formally. The purpose of meeting Netaji with the members of the league fell flat, with the members not getting any opportunity to inform him about the reality on the ground. During the speech, the chairman informed Netaji to immediately take over the rule of islands completely, which he agreed to at once. The article concludes by saying that, like his death, the life of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose and his visit to the islands remains an enigma. Doesn't fucking seem like an enigma to me. Sure, his death was a fucking enigma. Sure, a lot of things that he did were, weird and contrary to what his widely held beliefs were. But like we were talking, you've got to assume that this incident specifically, you are going to meet the Indian Independence League and you're going to meet its members, it's supposed to be like a conference. It's supposed to be a meeting of people doing a lot of actual work, and you walk in and there are hundreds of children there and common people. I refuse to believe that he was so oblivious that he wasn't like, this seems really fishy to me. Right? And like I mentioned, we are not journalists, we are not historians. So this is speculation, but speculate I shall, because I can on the podcast, and it seems like critical thinking to me to say that, this was, I'm pretty sure Bose knew what was going on and chose to ignore it. It was a choice. I remind everybody, this was fag end of 1943. The Japanese were barely surviving everywhere else, right? Like, it was very clear, 1943 end, it was clear that the Allied forces were winning.
And like
There was
one thing that still baffles my mind is how the Japanese people hard pivoted from being an imperialist force to like dealing with electronics in general. Like this is just such a hard pivot, dude. Like, okay, we were killing people, but now we will make PlayStation. Okay, bro. Like, how? Why? No one knows.
What do you mean? Capitalism is just an extension of colonialism.
Yeah, no, I know, but it was such a hard pivot, dude. Such a hard
No,
pivot.
man, it's just a different way of killing people. So it's the same bottom line. It's just a different way
No,
of killing people.
we were killing people. Now, here, have our matcha.
Matcha is pretty great.
Yeah. Anyway,
Exceptional PR though, like
yeah.
exceptional PR work. Like it so happens in global history, what happens in the eastern part of the world or the global south is not really spoken about much. And if you villainize Nazi Germany, which you should also villainize imperialist Japan, because
Hmm.
a lot of fucking horrifying shit was done. They had their own Goebbels. They had horrifying fucking